attempting to do the Heimlich maneuver. But from the frustrated shouts, it didn't seem to be working. That's when Mimi's mum took her by the hand and led her out of the restaurant. Maybe she saw the look on her face, or maybe she was afraid they weren't going to be able to save the girl, that she might die right here in the middle of the restaurant, and she didn't want Mimi to witness that. They wandered up and down the footpath outside, and her mother chatted to her about different things. She couldn't remember now what they spoke about, but she could recall that sense of knowing. She's trying to distract me. Soon, there was the wail of a siren. Mimi never found out whether that girl was okay, but she did think about it a lot. She replayed the scene in her mind as she fell asleep at night. She heard the sound of the mother's cries, and her skin would crawl and her stomach would churn, and sometimes tears would sting her eyes, and she didn't really understand why. 30 years had gone by since that night at the restaurant, and tonight, Mimi had found herself thinking of that mother again. It was Christmas Eve, so she shouldn't be thinking about her. She should be thinking about happy things, warm, feel-good things. Must remember to hang the stockings tonight when we arrive at the holiday house. Was the turkey I bought too big for that oven up there? I should have double-checked with Jill. Did Pete's brother Darren remember to pick up the prawns this morning? And was he smart enough to pack them in an esky with ice for the drive up? Did we buy enough gifts for the twins? They're only babies, I know. They won't remember their first Christmas morning. And there's very little that they need, what with all the hand-me-downs from Callie and Tara. But still, I don't want them to miss out. This is what I should be thinking of. Mimi loved the lead up to Christmas. She always had. The way the world felt different. Not just festive, that was a given, but magical. She still got a funny little jump in the pit of her stomach when a shopping centre Santa waved at her. So why was she thinking about that woman right now, instead of about eggnog and candy canes? It was because of the accident on the freeway. It was just like when that girl was choking in the restaurant. There was an eerie silence. Then, the sound of someone grunting in pain. And finally something else. A woman's tortured screams. She sounded just like the mother in the restaurant, and Mimi was thinking, no, not this again. No, no, no. But then she realized, the person who's screaming is me. Chapter 1. Tuesday the 1st of December. Mimi. Mimi lay on her stomach on the rug, her sketchbook and pencils in front of her. A bead of sweat slipped down from her forehead and curved around her cheek. She should hop up and turn on the aircon. Summer had well and truly arrived. The twins were side by side on their backs, both gazing up at the colourful mobiles hanging in their play gym. She should have been giving them some tummy time, but they hated being on their stomachs at the moment, and she rather preferred happy gurgling twins over anguished screaming ones. Not to mention the fact that Elliot had recently mastered the art of rolling front to back. Now, as soon as Mimi put her on her stomach, she immediately flipped back over anyway. So what was the point? If anything, it would only mean Elliot showing off in front of James. What if that created some sort of rift between the sisters? What if years in the future James was sitting in a therapist's office explaining how her inferiority complex first stemmed from the days when her mother placed her next to her capable rolling twin, while she stayed stuck on her stomach and screamed? Actually, they were probably both going to end up in therapists' offices complaining that their parents had wanted boys, not girls, as evidenced by their two very boyish names. Which wouldn't be fair, really. Mimi was perfectly happy with having girls. It was Pete who'd been hoping for boys. He might have tried to hide it, but it was bloody obvious. Whereas Mimi, well, Mimi hadn't wanted any more children at all. She put down the pencil she'd been drawing with and gave her hand a small smack. You're not supposed to have thoughts like that, not consciously. Yes, it was true that Pete had been the one pushing for another child, but it wasn't his fault they'd ended up with two for the price of one. That was life. It liked to play funny tricks on you. Sometimes they were small pranks, like when she stayed up until 1 a.m. finishing her daughter's school project. She knew she wasn't supposed to do the work for her, but she also knew that every other parent was probably up late creating the papier-mâché sculptures of the earth too.